want to touch on something that you said a few times, and I think it's so relevant to people trying to come up through the ranks and race today, but the financial aspect of it. How tough was it to navigate that, especially early in your career? I know your wife even had to go back to work to help, sustain, income for a family. Like, what was that time like in terms of having to pay for racing?
Well, I got to give you the story about my wife. I had to put her to work because the way I got the TQ midget, I got her dad to invest to buy it, he and the partner that he had. And I said, the deal was, I says, you buy that car for me. That was the only way I could get one. and I said that, and I will share with you, I'll give you 50% of everything that car earns. And when I don't need it anymore, when you sell it, it's all yours. Mm-hmm. Deal that nobody could refuse. but there was a maintenance aspect of it. I was driving that indoors. So the car, if you had just a puff of smoke coming out of the exhaust, you were done for the evening. They park you. Mm-hmm. And so I had to have fresh heads. And it was a Triumph 800 engine, motorcycle engine in it. And I had to have fresh heads every single weekend. Because that new valve guides and all that stuff, well, that's where the smoke would come from. So, and that was costing me like $150. And then we used to pick up the heads at the motorcycle shop, on the way to the races, in New Jersey. And like I said, I had to have that $150 all the time. So my wife, when she worked at the blouse factory, that was really her paycheck, And then she was pregnant with Michael, our first child.
Man, yeah.
And so on the way over to the track, we were going to stop at Bob's cycle shop. And she's going, I said, what's the matter? Oh, nothing. She's going like this. I says, all right, tell me. She says, I quit my job. I said, you quit your job? How am I going to pay for these heads now? Oh, poor Deanne. She said, I'm 7 months pregnant. So anyway, that was one of those things. But the other one was that basically, I always said, I loved this so much. This was my rodeo. This is my dream. And I said, I'm not driving for the money, but I had to. You had to be reasonably. I lost my closest friends, and I look at young families, Billy Foster and so on and so forth. And I see just, what their wives, what they were going through. And so I figure at least, one thing I can do is can provide, if this, God forbid, happens to me, that they will be cared for. So I had to, believe it or not, I went for the best contracts, and I wanted to earn. And it was, for all the reasons, but primarily I had that in my mind. I was justifying my selfishness to obviously do what I did, even though it was dangerous, by said, I'm earning enough then, that you will be taken care of, you'll be cared for, for the rest of your life. That's what you do, without me. And that was another objective too, just, man, go for it, you know what I mean? And I was driving everything I could. Not because, but it was working good for me because, I said I had a great excuse.
Yeah. Poor Deanne too, right?
And Deanne was so wonderful. You never really realize until later on in life when you reflect on things, how good she was for me. Manny, never, ever, ever did she make me feel guilty, for being selfish and, to do this. I get reminded sometimes by my daughter Barbie. Said, "You were not at my graduation." I said, "I know. I had to race." And I'll tell you another story. I got to tell you, Michael, the oldest one, when he was still young, he was just in school. I think it was second or third grade, and the teacher was asking all the kids what their dads did for a living, and it comes to Michael. He says, "My dad goes to the airport and makes bread." And I said, "What?" Because every time, I have my, luggage and everything else. "Dad, where are you going now?" I said, "Well, I got to go to the airport and make the bread."
And that's what he thought you did?
That's what he thought I did.
Oh my gosh.
Good old Mike.
Bringing home the dough.
Now he's making the bread.
When did he find out what you actually did?
A little bit later. My dad goes to the airport and makes the bread.
Oh my gosh. That had to be funny to hear. And the other kids
That's
probably
a fact.
yeah. Gosh, that is funny. I didn't know that. You mentioned losing people that were close to you, and you brought up Billy Foster. I know you had a conversation with him, before he passed. What was that conversation like?
Well, here's Billy Foster, responsible in every way. And, he's coming from the far west. I'm coming from the far east. We blend here, right here in the Midwest. And both have the same ambitions and so on and so forth. And we have young families. And I'm still driving sprint cars. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Mario, you're crazy." I said, "This stage of your career, you don't need to be driving sprint cars." And because I think by any stretch of mind, they were the most dangerous of the, racing cars to drive at that time. And he was driving stock cars. The USAC stock cars, and also did some NASCAR. And as fate would have it, we're in Riverside for the Riverside 500, and we're rooming together, even. And happy, both driving a stock car. And so I'm ready to qualify. Right after him, he's out qualifying. Front brake explodes, going in turn 9, and he just pancaked into the wall. Was killed him instantly. And that's because of him, I think, ultimately the net was mandated in NASCAR. Anyway, tragic. Here it is, a family that we were as close as you could be, like his wife Beverly and the kids, and then to see this and the agony that my wife was experiencing at the time. You see what I mean? It was so close, to us. And these are all the things that, let's face it, I felt the responsibility, no question. But at the same time, I always felt, he wouldn't give up. If that would have happened to me, he'd keep going. So I always use that excuse, true or not, but it happened. I mean, I think in two accidents, I think in '64, 2 sprint car accidents. In one we lost Joe Larson and Red Regal in Reading, Pennsylvania. And later on at Ascot, we lost Don Branson and Dick Atkins. Dick Atkins was my teammate with Wally Muskowski. I mean, 2 accidents, 4 guys gone. And let's face it, I mean, I'd never like to talk about that side of it, but realistically, at the beginning of the season, at the first drivers' meeting, you look around and you said, I wonder who's not going to be here at the end. I mean, that was the reality, and that's the sport was cruel in those years, no question about it. But you had to overcome that with just passion, passion and love for doing what you're doing. True, true passion. Otherwise, there's no way you could exist.